Welcome to Charlie's Chills, where we unravel bone-chilling real haunted stories from around the world. I'm Charlie, your host, bringing you tales from the internet and our listeners that will haunt your dreams. Follow us on X, Threads, Instagram, and Facebook at Charlie's Chills for your daily dose of spookiness. If you're creeped out and captivated, like, share, and subscribe, or follow, depending on your platform. And if you want to dive deeper into the shadows, contribute through buymeacoffee.com/charlieschills. All links in the description. Now, without further ado, let's dive into the world of Charlie's Chills. The year was 2008, and I had secured a room in a boarding house in Depok, West Java, a mere hour's journey from the bustling heart of Jakarta. My choice of residence was strategic, as it placed me just 10 minutes away from the commuter train station, an essential conduit for my daily commute to work in the capital. Nestled behind the Gramedia bookstore and adjacent to an elementary school, this dormitory offered convenience and proximity to the train station, which was paramount for my daily routine. However, the sinister tale I am about to recount would cast a long, chilling shadow over my new abode. In that very same year, new, opulent mall had sprung up in the vicinity, brimming with allure. But amidst its grandeur lay an eerie enigma, a time-worn colonial house, defiantly juxtaposed against the modern mall's facade. This house harbored an ancient banyan tree within its courtyard, a sprawling behemoth rumored to be as ancient as the very structure itself. Being a newcomer to this city, I was susceptible to local legends and urban myths. The neighborhood whispered tales of spectral encounters, with the most notorious being a female ghost and several other restless spirits that had once resided within the venerable banyan tree adjacent to the old house. However, with the advent of the mall's construction, these restless souls were scattered and disrupted by the frenetic activity of the construction site. Some claimed that the construction crew had summoned a shaman to expel the spirits, as their presence consistently impeded progress. Allow me to delve right into the heart of my harrowing experience. One of my fellow housemates was employed as a maintenance worker in the very mall that had become the talk of the town. Late one fateful night, while on his nocturnal shift tasked with inspecting the generator in the building behind the mall, he found himself privy to a chilling and spectral sight. Startled and unnerved, he fled the scene, his heart racing with trepidation. Yet, unbeknownst to him, the malevolent female spirit he had encountered had decided to follow him home, subsequently taking up residence in the room I had just rented. Her haunting intrusion commenced on the very first night after my arrival. That ill-fated night, exhaustion weighed heavily upon me, prompting me to retire to bed prematurely. My belongings remained scattered and unpacked, and my housemates remained engrossed in a televised football match, blissfully unaware of the uncanny events that would soon unfold. As I drifted into the threshold of slumber, a peculiar sensation seized me, a sensation of being lifted. My bed's foot was raised at a disconcerting 35-degree angle, and I found myself in a paralytic state, unable to rouse myself or utter a word. My eyes remained open, fixated upon my elevated feet, and I was powerless to intervene. Desperation welled within me as I silently beseeched the unseen presence to cease its unsettling actions. My pleas transformed into fervent prayers, invoking any sacred incantation I could summon to mind. Then, as abruptly as it had begun, the violent levitation ceased, and I was released from its malevolent grip. I immediately rose from my bed, my pulse racing, and examined the foot where the bed had been manipulated. It was evident that the screws securing the foot of my bed had loosened, rendering it shaky and damaged. Despite the eerie encounter, I concealed it from my housemates, dreading the distress it might cause them. I feared they would report it to our landlady, potentially jeopardizing my tenure in this unnerving room. To counteract the unsettling presence that had intruded upon my slumber, I began reading passages from the Quran following my morning prayers, clinging to the hope that my nightly visitor would be deterred. In the following days, I mustered the courage to unpack my belongings, which included my desktop computer and a set of small speakers, humble possessions, but invaluable for my work as a translator. My line of work often demanded that I bring assignments home, and on this particular evening, I resolved to slumber with the comforting company of music emanating from my computer. I sought to banish the memory of my disconcerting experience and prayed that the specter would not return. Alas, my hopes were sorely misplaced. Just before the descent into slumber, my computer inexplicably toggled on and off, a mysterious phenomenon that repeated itself several times. The relentless power fluctuations wreaked havoc on my CPU, rendering it inoperative and incapacitating my ability to work. I was forced to endure the loss, waiting until payday to secure a replacement. To compound matters, the ensuing morning brought forth a strange malady, an unexplained fever that left me bedridden and enfeebled. Throughout my convalescence, an eerie presence continued to haunt my room, a spectral woman draped in a long, white gown. She hovered, a silent and unsettling sentinel, her form shifting restlessly. Weak and feverish, I observed her movements, powerless to do more than feign ignorance. Miraculously, by the afternoon, my fever had dissipated as swiftly as it had descended. To my bewilderment, when I ventured outside my room, a housemate met me with incredulity. He recounted having seen me depart the house earlier that morning, an account that defied reality, as I had been indisposed in my room throughout the day. The disconcert. Revelation left me agitated and unnerved, haunted by a chilling specter from a parallel existence. That evening, my boyfriend arrived, concerned by my prolonged absence from work. He bore gifts, a DVD player and an array of connectors designed to afford me the luxury of watching movies on my computer monitor. Together, we endeavored to install the DVD player, a simple task that soon morphed into a baffling ordeal. The device inexplicably failed to power on, thwarting our repeated attempts. Frustrated and perplexed, my boyfriend returned to the nearby mall, where he had procured the DVD player, intent on seeking a replacement. To his astonishment, the newly acquired player too defied functionality, mirroring the inexplicable malfunction of its predecessor. Bewildered and unnerved, he decided to transport the stubborn device back to his own residence, departing with a lingering sense of unease. It was in my disquieted state that my boyfriend made a disconcerting observation. He noticed my agitation and sensed my vulnerability. With genuine concern, he escorted me to a nearby food stall, where one of my housemates, an individual employed in the maintenance of the mall, joined us. I took the opportunity to share my distressing experiences, recounting the spectral events that had unfolded over the past nights. My revelation precipitated an unsettling confession from my housemate. He too had seen the apparition within the generator building of the mall. His revelation sent shivers down our spines, as he ominously remarked, "She must have been following me back home." With my boyfriend's steadfast support, we determined to seek the aid of an ustadz, a Muslim clergyman. He arrived at my room, stationing himself resolutely at the entrance, gazing fixedly within. The ustads announced the presence of the ghost, perched atop my cupboard, its intent to stifle me with silence and instill dread. The tension in the room was palpable, a suffocating weight that bore down upon us all. The ustads proceeded to recite a prayer, beseeching the intruding spirit to vacate my room, emphasizing that it did not belong among the living. Moments passed in fraught silence, and then, with an air of finality, the ustads proclaimed that the spirit had departed. As he left my room, I hesitantly ventured back inside, feeling an indescribable lightness in the air that had previously been so oppressive. Relief washed over me, and I breathed easier. The ustads offered parting counsel, advising me to recite passages from the Quran both in the morning and evening as a protective barrier against any future visitations. As I reflected upon my nightmarish ordeal, I resolved to move out of that accursed boarding house after 3 harrowing months, not due to the specter, but rather, due to the landlady's insistent rent increases. Ladies and gentlemen, we've just ventured into another eerie tale from the depths of the unknown. But fear not, there's more spine-tingling content coming your way after this short break. While we take a breather, remember to follow us on X, formerly Twitter, Threads, Instagram, and Facebook, at charlieshills, to stay updated on all things supernatural. If you've been enjoying these chilling stories, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, or follow, depending on your platform, so you never miss a heart-pounding episode. And for those brave souls who want to support our quest for the paranormal, consider contributing through buymeacoffee.com/charlieschills. So, don't wander too far. We'll be back with more hair-raising tales, inexplicable encounters, and unsettling mysteries. Stay tuned, because Charlie's Chills returns in just a moment. Keep those lights on, my friends. Two years ago, during a business trip to Bogor, Indonesia, I found myself sharing accommodations with a colleague. Our partners had taken it upon themselves to arrange our lodging, selecting an establishment that, while aged in appearance, bore the marks of a well-established hotel. To my slight relief, our partners had also seen fit to book separate rooms for each of us, sparing me the discomfort of sharing close quarters with a colleague I wasn't particularly close to. After a hearty dinner, we decided to retire early, seeking respite in our respective rooms. It was a typical hotel, the kind that evoked a sense of history and faded grandeur. Little did I know that beneath its antiquated facade, something far more unsettling lurked. In the dead of night, around 2:30 a.m., a pressing need drove me from my slumber and compelled me to venture into the bathroom. As I returned to my bed, still groggy, I became aware of a peculiar and disconcerting phenomenon. Faint, deliberate footsteps echoed near the entrance door of my room. To clarify, the distance between my bedroom and the entrance was substantial, thanks to the en-suite layout of our accommodations. As I strained to comprehend the source of the eerie sounds, it became evident that the footsteps were deliberate and slow, almost as though someone were cautiously creeping about. I remained frozen, listening intently to the strange cadence that had disrupted my rest. Then, inexplicably, the pace of these footsteps quickened. Gradually, the cautious creep evolved into a frenzied rush, as if an invisible presence were sprinting toward me. I could do nothing but remain seated in a state of sheer trepidation. The rapid steps approached with such haste that I braced for impact, my heart pounding mercilessly. And then, as abruptly as it had begun, the disconcerting encounter took a chilling turn. Before me materialized the spectral figure of a woman, her ethereal form in motion, as though she were in the midst of a frantic flight. Abruptly, she halted just outside my room's entrance, pivoting to fixate her spectral gaze upon me. We locked eyes, mere seconds stretching into an eternity of eerie silence. Then, without warning, she pivoted once more, returning her attention to the living room beyond. The figure resumed her frenzied sprint, disappearing from view as she sped toward the distant expanse of windows. The otherworldly apparition left no auditory trace of her passage. All I could do was remain seated, shrouded in my covers, paralyzed by an eerie blend of awe and dread. I remained in that dread-laden silence for an indeterminate span of time, my consciousness captive to the surreal events that had unfolded before me. It was only when the doorbell chimed, shattering the unsettling silence, that I mustered the courage to rise and greet my colleague, who stood on the threshold, her tearful countenance a testament to her own terrifying ordeal. She sought solace within my room, recounting her own spine-chilling encounter. Her tale commenced with a deafening bang that had resounded from her balcony in the dead of night, sending shivers coursing through her. Investigating the source of the noise, she ventured outside to discover nothing amiss. Yet, as she prepared to return to her bed, she encountered a sight that would haunt her for the rest of her days. Upon entering the bathroom, she was confronted by the inexplicable presence of a woman seated within her bathtub, staring up at her with unblinking eyes. Overwhelmed by terror, my colleague fled her room and sought refuge in mine, where we spent the remainder of that harrowing night bathed in the feeble reassurance of the flickering lights. The dawn brought no respite from the horrors of the night before, as we summoned the courage to relay our disturbing experiences to the hotel staff. Their response was as chilling as our own tales. They disclosed the tragic demise of a woman who had committed suicide on the very floor we occupied, the 5th level, and had tragically plummeted to her death on the 3rd-floor balcony. It was a revelation that sent shivers cascading down our spines, casting a shadow of macabre unease over our once seemingly innocuous accommodations. As daylight graced our room, we made the unanimous decision to pack our belongings and hastily change hotels, opting to share a room in our new lodgings. Our escape from the enigmatic clutches of that hotel marked the end of our bone-chilling encounter in Bogor, leaving us with lingering doubts and an indelible sense of unease. Ladies and gentlemen, we've just ventured into another eerie tale from the depths of the unknown. But fear not, there's more spine-tingling content coming your way after this short break. While we take a breather, remember to follow us on X, formerly Twitter, Threads, Instagram, and Facebook, at charlieshills, to stay updated on all things supernatural. If you've been enjoying these chilling stories, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, or follow, depending on your platform, so you never miss a heart-pounding episode. And for those brave souls who want to support our quest for the paranormal, consider contributing through buymeacoffee.com/charlieschills. So, This is a tale that sends shivers down my spine whenever I recollect it, a harrowing experience that unfolded back in 2004. At the time, I was a senior high school student, residing in an Islamic boarding school in Semarang, Central Java. Our institution boasted a formal organization known as Alida, dedicated to fostering love for nature and cultivating bravery. To earn membership, aspiring candidates, usually younger students, were subjected to a rigorous test every semester, designed to separate the brave from the cowardly. Alida only accepted the fearless among us, and the initiation process was far from ordinary. The test entailed a daunting challenge. Candidates were to venture alone into various eerie locations, devoid of flashlights or any source of illumination, in the dead of midnight. Back then, mobile phones were strictly forbidden for all students. We had selected 4 chilling places for these trials, dark corners of our school's vicinity. Senior members like myself were stationed at each location to await their arrival and subject them to our peculiar tests. These destinations included a shadowy garden amidst a forest of trees near the school, the entrance of an abandoned and decaying factory, the interior of an abandoned house, and, most hauntingly, an ancient burial ground located nearly a kilometer away from the school. To reach the final destination, candidates had to navigate through the preceding 3 sinister sites, with no inhabited houses along the desolate road. Upon their arrival at our designated locations, they were at our mercy, obliged to carry out whatever we demanded. My bravest friend, Wahid, and I were assigned to oversee the trials at the old funeral ground. I had initially hesitated to accept this particular role, but peer pressure branded me a coward, a label I couldn't bear. Little did I know what lay in store. We were informed that we had a total of 8 candidates, and the trials commenced at 11 p.m., usually concluding around 2 a.m. By 1 a.m., we had successfully evaluated 8 candidates, or so I thought. Eager to return to the safety of the school, I urged Wahid to leave, convinced that our task was complete. However, he insisted that we were still expecting one more candidate. He was adamant that there were 9 in total. Uncertain of who was correct, I deferred to his judgment, thinking that an extra candidate wouldn't make a significant difference. Roughly 10 minutes later, a figure emerged in the dimly lit funeral ground. My initial response was a hesitant smile, as I realized that I had been wrong. Wahid called out to the newcomer with enthusiasm, instructing him to approach us. However, instead of greeting us with the customary salam, the traditional Islamic greeting, the candidate remained eerily silent, standing motionless before us while we sat in anticipation. Disappointed by this breach of protocol, Wahid asked the candidate's name, but received no reply. Growing increasingly agitated, he raised his voice, demanding an answer, yet still met only silence. Frustration and annoyance gripped us as the candidate remained steadfastly mute. Frustrated and somewhat unnerved, I attempted to illuminate his face with my flashlight. To my astonishment, I found his visage wholly unfamiliar, unlike any face I had encountered within the confines of our boarding school. Though his features appeared motionless and unassuming, there was something profoundly unsettling about his countenance. "Calm down, Wahid," I advised, attempting to dispel the uneasy feeling taking hold of me. Perhaps he's overwhelmed by fear or encountered something on his journey. Inwardly, I sought to rationalize the situation. "What's your name?" I gently inquired. Still, no response. Frustrated by the candidate's stubborn silence, Wahid lost his temper and threatened to use force to compel a reply. The enigmatic figure remained stoic, impervious to our demands. A sense of unease began to creep over me, growing stronger by the second. That ominous feeling returned, gnawing at my core. I don't recognize him at all. Do you? I asked Wahid, who shared my uncertainty. It was becoming increasingly evident that something was amiss. Wahid made a rash decision: we would follow the candidate along his journey and surprise him in the darkness. I had little choice but to comply with Wahid's decision, for his determination knew no bounds. We managed to track the candidate's shadow and reached a concealed spot near his path, prepared to ambush him as he drew closer. As we waited in the darkness, anticipation swelled within us. When the candidate neared the predetermined spot, Wahid, with a guttural growl, lashed out at the darkness, unleashing an otherworldly, inhuman sound that reverberated through the night. To our bewilderment, our ambush yielded no results, no startled cries, no movement, nothing. We were left startled and perplexed. "Where is he?" Wahid demanded, his voice trembling with fear. I could only respond with a helpless shrug. Driven by a mounting sense of apprehension, we embarked on a frantic search, scanning the vicinity for any sign of the elusive candidate. We struggled to come to terms with the inexplicable turn of events. Eventually, we stumbled upon the candidate, but what we saw left us speechless. There he stood, behind us, a spectral presence materializing out of the inky blackness. Our instinctive reaction was to flee in sheer terror, and flee we did, running and screaming without a second thought. We left behind the thermos bottle, cups, and coffee, forgotten in the frenzy. As we returned to the school, our fellow students questioned our prolonged absence, having waited for over an hour. We recounted our bone-chilling encounter, recounting how we had waited for the 9th candidate who had never appeared. The most chilling revelation of all: we had only prepared for 8 candidates, not 9. To this day, whenever I find myself alone in the dark, that haunting memory resurfaces. It serves as a constant reminder that, in the realm of the supernatural, the unknown can be far more terrifying than anything we can imagine. So, the next time you hear a story like this, be certain that the specter you encounter is not the very same one that haunted us that fateful night. Ladies and gentlemen, we've just ventured into another eerie tale from the depths of the unknown. But fear not, there's more spine-tingling content coming your way after this short break. While we take a breather, remember to follow us on X, formerly Twitter, Threads, Instagram, and Facebook, at Charlieshills, to stay updated on all things supernatural. If you've been enjoying these chilling stories, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, or follow, depending on your platform, so you never miss a heart-pounding episode. And for those brave souls who want to support our quest for the paranormal, consider contributing through buymeacoffee.com/charlieschills. So, don't wander too far. We'll be back with more hair-raising tales, inexplicable encounters, and unsettling mysteries. Stay tuned, because Charlie's Chills returns in just a moment. Keep those lights on, my friends. Let me share another spine-tingling tale from the annals of Alida, this one harking back to the year 2003, a time that predates the chilling funeral event I previously recounted. Allow me to recap a few essential details about Alida. It was a formal organization in my former boarding school, driven by the twin ideals of nurturing a love for nature and fostering bravery. Each semester, a peculiar initiation ritual awaited prospective fragmented.